coolest thing in the world. I'm hanging out with the Gambinos. I
Yep.
got ecstasy. So I started selling ecstasy for Alba. I thought I was Al Capone. The truth was
Love
I
it.
was an idiot kid. But it didn't really matter what the truth was. That's what I started doing.
Got it.
Eventually, my father got out of jail.
Yeah.
And he had state time to do, so he was sent to New York. The family moved me back there to give a house for him to come, parole to. And he got out and went to Bruno's restaurant, another mob hangout in New York.
Yeah.
And Bruno's Albanian. The Kosovo War was going on. He said, look, John, I know Derek needs something to do. Let's send him over there and start an insurance company. And that was, right up my dad's alley. And so I took off from the drugs and went over to Kosovo and lived there for 2.5 years.
Holy cow. Okay. Random, but okay. So now you go to Kosovo, you do your thing, you have your insurance company. Then you come back, right? And then, obviously we're gonna push the book, but don't give too much away. But then what happened next? Because that's what I'm saying. I want to get how you got into this to the white collar scam. How did that happen? Was it intentional? Was it, did you do it and think like, I'm not gonna get caught, I'll get out? Or did you go in honestly and then you kind of, mired over to the left and to the right? What happened there in terms of you're getting jammed up?
So this is the beauty about the crimes, the new form of organized crime. And I'll talk about it in regards to Kosovo. You're like, I went to Kosovo because I was a young, crazy kid. It satisfied all my street urges, where at the same time, I thought I was involved in something legitimate. Well, halfway through, I recognized this is another one of my father's scams. And by the way, our Albanian partners also realized that. Meanwhile, IBTR, which was another pump and dump my brother and father were involved in, they used me as a signature, but I was going on in New York. So, they kind of put, Derek away in Kosovo, let him go fight the war, and, we'll pump and dump here. The pump and dump goes bad. My dad's sure he's going to go to jail. Forbes puts a new article out called The Long Arm of John Galanis. By the way, they're totally right about everything in the article. My father decides he's got to take off and go on the run. So my father is on the run, living in Greece, which is right below Kosovo. I'm going down there shoveling money. He's going over and seeing the Gambinos in Sicily. Tony's over there courting some girl that he eventually married. And he actually sent Tony to Kosovo to see me. And I'll never forget, Tony says to me, look, hey, Derek, I want to open an ice cream bar, in Sicily. We could do this. And I looked at him and, my mind was just fried then. Gambino asking me for money was I looked at him and said, I'm not giving you a dime. And I sent him back to Sicily. And I know my father sent him there because he thought that I would come off the money for him. But I was living around a bunch of dangerous Albanians 24/7. Gambino asking me for money wasn't going to happen. In any event, eventually the insurance business implodes on itself. My father made so many enemies with our Albanian partners and everything else. It explodes. I return to San Diego, and unfortunately, I return right into a DEA drug investigation that's going on surrounding Dennis Alba's ecstasy lab.
Unreal. So your first pitch was for the ecstasy?
Yeah. My first pitch was for the ecstasy. And here's the thing. I mean, you got to appreciate, they know time. And by the way, I'm in San Diego for a little while. Yeah. And then I go with my brother back to New York. We're searching some other stop pump and dump deal or whatever there. And we meet Tommy in, I believe it was the Soho area of New York. And I hit him up because Dennis asked me to. I say, hey, Tommy, listen, Dennis got that lab going. If we can get, channels back here for distribution, we can make a lot of money. And Tommy looks at me and he smiles. He goes, I look around for you, Derek. And so I take that as a, positive side. I run out of the bar, call Alba. I go, hey, Dennis. Dennis, I got financing for both things. We were in some porn thing and the ecstasy lab. And the DEA was listening the whole time. So when we all got swooped up, their entire focus was on Gambino because, they're mafia royalty. I mean, the Gambino family and the public doesn't seem to realize it. They think of the Gambino crime family. The Gambinos took over the Gambino crime family. I mean, they went from Sicily and they were in charge of it. I mean, Frank Callahan married into it. Yep. John was on the commission. I mean, they are the Gambinos, literally. Yep. Yeah. So So they leaned on me hard. I mean, fortunately for me, they were constrained statutorily to 20 years because it was my first offense. And your first offense, because ecstasy wasn't coke and it wasn't speed, and mandatory minimums have become so unpopular, there was no mandatory minimum. And because it was a new drug, I was constrained to 20 years on my first offense. But believe me, they tried to give me 20.
Wow. And then, okay, so we do hear respectfully, and it's not beating anybody up, but there were guys that that were in your shoes that flipped, right? And you can argue you weren't a made guy, you weren't like a hardcore associate, you were friends with these guys, you like these guys,